Journey to the Moon element, selenium. The first encounter. I still remember the smell. Sharp, biting, almost like radish, rising from the gray sludge in a sulfuric acid factory near Gripsholm. It was 1817, and I, Johns Jacob Berzelius, thought at first I was dealing with arsenic or tellurium. But the substance resisted all my categories. It was not earth, not sulfur, not metal. It was something new. When I finally gave it a name, I reached for the heavens, or rather, for the moon. Selene, the goddess of silver light, became the patron of this element. And so selenium entered the world, a child of the moon in the kingdom of chemistry. Meeting the light. Years later, I find myself in a Victorian laboratory in London. A colleague shows me a simple plate coated with gray selenium. A watch, he says, and directs a beam of light onto it. Suddenly the needle of the instrument jumps. Electricity flows only because light has touched the material. I am speechless. The element I once pulled from dark sludge responds to sunlight like a living plant. It is as if Selene herself had decided to capture the sun's rays and turn them into electrons. Here begins the story of photovoltaics born from the moon element. Between poison and cure. But selenium is moody. In the Great Plains of North America, farmers tell me of dead cattle. The animals had eaten plants that stored selenium in high amounts. Whole herds perished. For humans, selenium became a synonym for poison. And yet, decades later, I sit in a small laboratory in Wisconsin. Two researchers, Schwartz and Faltz, feed rats a selenium-poor diet. The animals die until they receive tiny amounts of sodium selenite. Suddenly they live. A shock, the poison is also a life giver. I feel the story turning. Selenium is not only an enemy, but a silent guardian of life. Inside the body. I dive deeper, this time not into mines or laboratories, but into the cells of the body. There I discover tiny enzymes that act like guardian spirits, glutathione peroxidases, which neutralize free radicals, deiodinases, which activate thyroid hormones, thioredoxin reductases, which keep the balance of electrons. All of them carry a hidden jewel, the amino acid selenocysteine. Without it, metabolism would collapse. I realize, selenium is the moon that governs the inner tides of the body, invisible, but indispensable. Illness and rescue. In a village in China, I meet children with weak hearts. Doctors call it Keshan disease. The soil here is poor in selenium and the people suffer. Simple supplements save lives. Elsewhere, I see animals with pale, weakened muscles, the white muscle disease. Again, selenium is the key. But I also learn the other side. Too much selenium and nails break, hair falls out, nerves fail. The moon has two faces, it gives light, but it can also bring madness. Technology and magic. I wander through the workshops of glassblowers. They add selenium to their molten glass, and suddenly it glows with deep ruby red. In metallurgy I hear the screech of steel, made easier to cut thanks to selenium. And then I stand before an early photocopier. A sheet of paper, exposed to light, captures an image through selenium. I hold it in my hand and think, here the moon itself has left its signature. The hidden pathways of fire and breath. I find myself shrinking down, smaller and smaller, until I am no larger than a single molecule drifting through the bloodstream. Around me, red blood cells surge like crimson moons, carrying their oxygen cargo. But I am searching for something subtler, the silent sparks of selenium. They're a glimmer. I enter the heart of a cell where mitochondria hum like ancient furnaces. Here, selenium's guardians stand watch. Glutathione peroxidase intercepts a rogue peroxide molecule before it can scorch the delicate membranes. The enzyme works in silence, a lunar sentinel extinguishing sparks before they become wildfires. I realize that without this moon element, our inner cosmos would collapse into chaos. Every breath we take, every heartbeat, every flicker of thought depends on this invisible shield. Selenium is not loud like iron, not flamboyant like gold. It is quiet, hidden, but essential, the moonlight that keeps the night from being absolute darkness. The double-edged gift. My journey carries me to a small clinic in rural China. The doctor shows me children with swollen bellies and weak hearts. A Keshan disease, he whispers. The soil here is barren of selenium, and so the children's bodies falter. A simple supplement, a pinch of sodium selenite, restores their strength. But then I travel to another place where the soil is rich in selenium. Here, people suffer from brittle nails, hair loss, and trembling nerves. Too much of the moonlight burns as surely as too little. I begin to see selenium as a trickster deity, benevolent in whispers, destructive in excess. Like the moon, it waxes and wanes, and only in balance does it guide the tides of life. The moon in the machine. The scene shifts again. I am in a dimly lit workshop in the 19th century. A young engineer places a selenium cell into a circuit. He shines a lamp and the current leaps alive. The room fills with gasps. For the first time, light has been turned directly into electricity. Later, I stand before a glass furnace. The artisans add selenium, and the molten mass glows with a ruby-red shimmer. In another hall, steel shrieks as it is cut more smoothly thanks to selenium's presence in the alloy. Everywhere I look, the moon element leaves its fingerprints, in cameras, in photocopiers, in the first solar panels. It is as though Selene herself has lent her silver touch to human invention, guiding us toward a future where light itself becomes power. The myth made flesh. At last, I return to the night sky. The moon hangs above me serene and watchful. I think of Selene, who drives her chariot across the heavens, and I think of Selenium, her earthly reflection. Both are paradoxes. Gentle and dangerous. Hidden and essential. Silent and transformative. I realize that to write about selenium is not only to tell the story of a chemical element. It is to tell the story of balance itself, the eternal dance between too much and too little, between light and shadow, between life and death. And so I close my journey with a final thought: selenium is not just in the soil, the glass, or the circuits. It is in us. It is the moonlight that runs through our veins, the quiet rhythm that keeps our inner tides in motion. To know selenium is to know that even the smallest trace of the cosmos can shape the destiny of life. Myth and reality. At the end of my journey, I look back. Selenium is no ordinary element. It is a border crosser. Between metal and non-metal. Between poison and medicine. Between darkness and light. It carries the moon in its name and in its nature. Just as Selene crosses the night sky, selenium moves through the history of science, mysterious, changeable, life-giving, and dangerous at once. And I, the traveler, understand. To encounter selenium is not only to meet a chemical element, but to meet a myth that still lives on inside our cells.